So here we go. I am going to share my slideshow.
Okay.
Let's
gonna
see.
Wow.
The slideshow.
Zoe, look. Look, Zoe.
Okay,
Isn't
one moment. And we're going back to the first part first. So do you think of that beautiful sky? Isn't that amazing? And when you see so many stars, so that's the only problem with living, at least I live in Halifax, and I almost never see that many stars. But if you go out to the countryside and you are away from the city, you can see so many.
I live in Lordstown.
And do you see a lot of stars?
I see one gazillion.
That's a good number.
That's a very good number. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so, and I think in Jesus' time, they didn't have electricity, so they didn't have all the city lights. So everybody could see a lot of stars. So let's find out about the Magi. Do you guys know what the Magi are?
No.
What do we call them? So the Magi is a difficult word, but it means the wise men. Do you know who the wise men were?
Yeah.
What did they do?
No.
I'm pretty sure they were the people. Some of the people that came to watch Jesus be born.
That's pretty close to correct. Let's find out. That they came to Jesus. That's correct. So let's go and look at the next slide. So this might be a Christmas card that you might have. It's a common kind of Christmas card. And we're going to see today that there's a couple of things wrong in this picture. Do any of you guys know what would not be correct in this picture? This is maybe a hard question, okay? We'll find out otherwise. Because do you think, did the wise men and the shepherds come at the same time?
No.
No.
Who was first?
I think it was the shepherds.
Yes, because they didn't have to travel so far. When the angel came to them, they only had to go a couple of kilometers or so, just a short while, like 10, 15-minute walk to go to the manger. But the wise men, they came from very far away. They had to travel for quite a while before they would get there. Because in that time, you had to travel with a camel or maybe with horses if you were a rich person. But still, it was a pretty far away because they had to go through the desert and it was a long trip. So they did not come at the same time. Well, we're going to learn a lot more about them in a bit.
Well, that sucks that they didn't have cars back then.
Correct. So actually the wise men, they were indeed very wise. They were pretty smart because they actually, oh, oops, that goes too far. One moment, I'll go back. Yeah, here we go. They knew all about the stars in the sky. They knew exactly where all the stars were, and they knew a lot of their meanings.
That was
Your slide changed again.
But we're supposed to be here. But do you see the horses?
beautiful.
Yeah, I see the horses.
Okay, that's the correct slide. So they were. So the thing is though that we always think that there were just 3 wise men because there were 3 gifts, but there was probably a whole army because the wise men, they were very important. So they were kind of the scientists in their time. They knew a lot of things. They were also the priests.
Oh no, because see, it's all part of it. Those words are part of her.
Yes. Yeah, if you have the pictures no, your picture should be on the side. I have only a little problem because my pictures get over my words. But
Malcolm thought that he could enlarge your photo.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, well,
No,
it doesn't matter. He can enlarge the picture if he likes.
Oh, sorry. It's that this wasn't leaned properly. Is that better? Okay. Do you want this out of the way? Pardon me. Sorry for interruption.
Oh, no problem. Hey, we're doing this together. We're having fun. So the wise men were also priests. They were people that gave the people in the countries wisdom from God. or at least from their gods. I think some of the wise men in that time knew the real God, and some of them were serving other gods. So there was a little bit of a mixture there. The wise men were serving different gods, but some wise men knew the God of Israel, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But they were advisors for kings. They would go to all the different kings and tell them, give them advice for their kingdom, tell them what the gods were telling them. And they were also very rich. So they were usually traveling in a larger group, and they had a small army of soldiers to protect them. So this was a serious visit. If the wise men came to visit you, there was a large group coming, not just 3. So that's kind of cool, huh?
Is that kind of cool, Malcolm? You asked a question.
What do you think? Can you imagine if the wise men came to visit your town? That's you're like, wait, what's happening? There's all these soldiers and they're on horses, and it can be a little intimidating.
Could you imagine a whole army and a king?
But could you imagine if you, Brayden, I like it. You found your drawing skills. Okay, we go to the next one. So how would the Magi know about Israel and about a king in Israel? How would they come up with that idea? Well, 500 years earlier, that's a long time. Can you imagine that? 500 years earlier, there was somebody in the kingdom of Persia, and before that in Babylon, who had become the head of the Magi and who knew the God of Israel very well. Who was that? Do we know any Magi from the Old Testament? Who was a wise man in the Old Testament? This is a hard question, I know.
Who were the wise men? Do you guys know who the wise men were? Well, we're going to find out.
Otherwise, I'm going to find out with you. So in the Old Testament, there was a king in Babylon, and that king took all the Jewish people to his country. And the boys who were very smart, they became his students, and they were becoming Magi. They were trained to be Magi.
What an honor.
What does Magi mean?
Well, Magi really means a person who can hear from the gods, who understands the stars, and who can give good advice, who's very smart.
That's a lot of knowledge, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So let's think. When the king of Babylon, I'll tell you who he was. It was Nebuchadnezzar. When Nebuchadnezzar took all the Jewish boys and all the Jewish people, but especially the boys he took to his palace, the smart boys he took to his palace. Who did he take to the palace? There's one boy we know really well.
Who was the boy, guys?
Well, I'll give you his name. It was Daniel. So what do we know about Daniel? What do you remember about Daniel?
What about Daniel, guys? She's asking you a question. Do you know?
I really want to stop getting questions.
Brayden, do you remember who Daniel was, perhaps?
Was Daniel, I have no clue, so I'm gonna take a wild guess.
Sure.
One of the wise men.
He did become one of the wise men, yes. So Daniel went to Nebuchadnezzar's palace and he got education there. He was learning all these complicated things that they knew, and like mathematics and stuff like that. And he learned about reading the stars and knowing where the stars are in the heavens and how they move and everything. But Daniel also said to the king, I am not going to eat the things like pork and wine that I'm not supposed to eat and drink, because my God has said I'm not allowed to do that. He listened to God, and the king let him do it because he looked much healthier than the other boys. And when Daniel grew older, he was the one who could interpret the king's dreams. Nobody else could do it because God told Daniel what the dream meant. And one day, some other people were really jealous of Daniel, and he ended up in the lion's den. Maybe you remember that one. So Daniel was the guy who spent the whole night with the lions before the next morning the king came over and said, "Are you still alive? Did God save you?" He said, "Yes, my God has saved me." And he came out alive.
Like the lions, guys. What a warrior.
So you can imagine the king was like, this man is important. So he said, he is going to be the head of all the Magi.
Wow.
So Daniel taught the Magi in that country about the God of Israel. And in their books, they kept the information that Daniel had taught them. So they knew there was going to be a king. There was going to be a king in Israel. Let's look from the Bible. I'm going to bring it to the next slide. So here we go.
Oh my God. Whoa.
So sorry, I made that a little bit hard. So I'm going to just read the green parts. The king made Daniel a ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and he placed him in charge of all its wise men. He was really important. And then Daniel said to the king, "Hey, I have 3 friends who are also very important." So they were allowed to rule with him, and their names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So there were 4 people among the wise men in Babylon who knew the God of Israel and who were teaching the others about him. Cool, huh? So that's how the wise men later in Jesus' time knew that there was going to be a king, because listen, Daniel told them. Let's look at what Daniel told them. Daniel told them that there will be 70 sevens. Ooh, how much is that?
Whoa, how many 77 times?
How much is 70 times 7? That's a big number.
Times 7. No.
Or how much is 7 times 7? Do you know that maybe?
What's 7 times 7?
7 times 7.
Yeah.
49.
Yeah, good. Excellent. We should give you an applause. 49. So 70 times 7 is then 490.
Whoa. Yeah.
So that is almost 500 years.
Whoa.
So Daniel had told them that, oh yeah, Good Shepherd, can you admit the next person if this person is safe? So 70 times 7, and then there would be somebody who was going to take care of all wickedness on earth. And he was going to bring everlasting righteousness, like everlasting peace, everything right. And so who did that? Who brought the end of sin? Who brought something that, to us so that we would not have to die anymore from sin?
Do you guys know?
No.
Well, what did Jesus do?
What did Jesus do?
I can't remember.
Yes, you can.
Very good. So Jesus died for us. When we die, it's not anymore to pay for our sins. When we die, we just go to heaven. But Jesus died for us, and he brought thereby the beginning of the end of sin. If Jesus had not died, we would have been in sin and we would not have been able to get out. But now we can today celebrate that Jesus came and that he came to die for us and that he also came back. So that is what Daniel already told his people. Daniel told the Magi, there is going to be a king who's going to bring righteousness. So the Magi in Babylon were waiting for this. And they were looking at the stars and they were like, is the king coming already? So they were just looking every night to see whether there would be a sign. And if we ask God to help us to know him and we don't have the Bible like they had, God will talk to us through the stars too. He will use his whole creation to tell us that he loves us. Because these Magi really wanted to know the person who came to save them. So let's find out. Let's first find out a little bit more what the Bible says about stars, because you might think, I have never looked at the stars for that. So let's look at the stars. What do we know? Let's look at the very beginning, Genesis 1.
Whoa.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That is somewhere. If you go out with a big telescope, well, actually, this is with the Hubble. If you go out into the universe, you find all kinds of absolutely beautiful things. Isn't that amazing?
Look, that's
Yeah,
real.
we just had a telescope this for this Christmas.
Yeah, it's like God made such beautiful things. I can keep looking at star images. They're amazing. So in Genesis 1, when God made the stars, you see, sometimes people say stars are from the devil. No, God made them, okay? So if you look here, God said, let there be lights in the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark special times and days and years. So the stars can give us a sign that something special is happening. They cannot tell us what happened exactly. We have to look at God's word for that. But the stars can tell us, hey, pay attention. God is doing something. And in any case, they can show us God is amazing. He makes these absolutely beautiful things. We can see how great he is. Let's look at the Psalms. They also tell us about the stars. Oh, and look at this picture. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, look, Mom.
Whoa.
I'm like, that's the butterfly stars.
It is space. It is space.
Wonderful.
And so Psalm 19 says, the heavens, it's like the stars, the cosmos, everything, declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. And it's like every day, every night, they show God's beauty.
Sorry. I just keep this in there.
Well, let's look a little further in the stars. I have some beautiful pictures for you. What do you think of this one?
Whoa.
That looks like the galaxy exploding.
Does it also?
It does, but what's in the middle of it?
An angel?
Maybe.
No, a plane? No, person. Person.
Well, of course, we can think a lot of things and we can decide what the shape means, but I think that it shows the cross. I think it shows the cross of Jesus in the sky.
Wow.
It's like the cosmos is telling us there's a very special thing that happened at the cross. Isn't that cool?
Yep.
So cool.
Well, here is the people who took this picture. They said, this is the fireworks galaxy. It's like the celebration for Jesus' birth. That's what
Wow.
I'm thinking. And this one is pretty cool too.
What's that one called?
It's called the cosmic reef. You know what a reef is? Like a coral reef. It's underwater, and it's maybe later on your mom can show you some pictures on the computer of a coral reef. This kind of looks like a coral reef upside down at this point. But I would want to turn the picture over, but
Yeah, I can see it. I'm looking at it upside down.
yeah.
It does look like the coral reef.
Yeah, isn't that cool? It's beautiful, eh?
Yep.
And on this one, I really like too.
What is that one called?
I'm trying to remember now.
Wait, you don't know this one?
I don't remember now. I can look it up on my computer from what the picture is called, but I don't have it in my head right now. I think it was maybe the seahorse, but I'm not sure.
A seahorse in space,
No, a
guys.
fish. A fish. No, that's totally a brain.
So, okay, so here you can see that last beautiful one. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit just about this year. Very close, next week, on the 21st of December, two of our planets, who look just like stars to us, are going to be really close together. And it's Jupiter and Saturn. and they're going to be really close, so they're going to look like one big star. So it's going to be very bright. So if our weather is good and we have a clear sky, you should check. If you look west, that's away from the ocean, then you might be able to see it close to the horizon. And see, I have a couple more pictures of what it's going to look like. So here, this is kind of showing you the other stars around it. But so it's basically facing, oh, they say southwest. And so this is kind of what it's going to look like if in a regular picture. So you're going to see very bright. So I think if we don't have too many clouds, you should definitely be able to see it.
That's exciting. We'll look forward to that.
Cool, huh?
I cannot even see it.
Not yet. You gotta look in the.
Look, Mom.
Look in
What
the
I
sky.
did to the paper clip.
Okay, so let's go back to the Bible story, the wise men. So where did the wise men go first? When they went to Israel, they first went to the palace, because where do you expect a king? In a palace. Now, who was in the palace?
Who's in the palace?
Uh,
What do you think? Who lives in the palace?
Jesus.
Well, we would like that, but now at that time, Israel had some. There was King Herod, and King Herod was a very evil man.
Oh,
And so the wise men came to King Herod, and you know what they asked him? They asked him, where is the born king of the Jews? Now, you need to know, Herod wasn't even a Jew. And Herod had been made king by the Roman Caesar.
Hmm.
So he was not a born king of the Jews. So he knew it wasn't him. And he didn't like it if somebody else was going to be king of the Jews. Can you imagine? You know, it's not so good if somebody else is going to be king of the Jews. So King Herod was like, ooh, what do I do? And remember, the wise men were there with a lot of soldiers. So King Herod was really worried.
threatened.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so here I just wrote it down a little bit. I think I'm going to skip that now. We're going to get to the end of the story sooner. Here you can see we have two parts here. We have the Roman Empire with Caesar. And then on the other side is the Parthian Empire. And that's where the Magi came from. So, and at this point, the Roman Empire was also ruling over Israel. So if the other guys were coming, there was a little bit of a worry that we were going to have a war.
Oh, war is not good, is it?
No, and Herod had this attitude that if somebody looked threatening to him, he would kill them.
I was about to make an
Listen,
alarm
she's
clock.
telling you about King Harold.
So you know what King Herod did? He killed his own son because he thought that he was going to want to be king.
well, that's kind of you
Yeah.
know, a bit.
And so everybody was like, "Oh no, another king! Herod is going to kill people again." And so good. So what does Herod tell the Magi? Well, Herod is smart. He goes to the Jewish priests. That's kind of like the Magi from Israel. And he asks them, where is the Messiah going to be born? That's kind of the special person that they are waiting for. And what do the Jewish priests tell him? In Bethlehem. So that was correct. Jesus was born in Bethlehem. But, you know, when the Magi arrived, it was about 2 years later. They didn't come right at his birth. They came later because they had to travel so far. So they came 2 years later. Do you think Jesus was still in Bethlehem?
No.
No.
No, because way too expensive for his parents to have to live there. They wanted to go back home. So let's look. Actually, the Bible says it. So we go to the next. It says Jesus was, so when Joseph and Mary had done everything required by the law of the Lord, which was to get Jesus circumcised and to bring an offering for Jesus, they returned to Galilee, to their own town of Nazareth. So here we see a picture of 2-year-old Jesus, and he is in Nazareth where his father is working, where Joseph is working as a carpenter. So if the Magi listened to the Jewish priests, would they go to the right place?
Did they go to the right place?
No, because they would go to Bethlehem. But you know, God helped them. Let's see what God did. As soon as they left, the Magi saw the star again. And we do not know what the star was. People have ideas and some things that they think about. But honestly, a star that shows up like that and exactly goes to one house, I think that was just a special angel or something that God gave them. So the star led them to the right house, which was in Nazareth, not in Bethlehem. So they came finally to the house in Nazareth, and they brought their gifts. And guys, those gifts were super expensive. That was a lot. They brought, here you can see it, they had brought gold, they brought frankincense, and they brought myrrh.
Look, that's a gift.
And you know what? Myrrh is so expensive. It's really, really, really expensive. And frankincense too. Those are very special oils.
Gold.
And gold is, of course, also super expensive, as you know.
You brought gold.
Wow. Wow.
You know, there are historians who say that the gift was at least $5 million.
Oh.
$1 million.
Can you imagine?
That's a lot of money. 5 million.
But they were coming to visit the king of...
Julian?
No, 5 million.
They came to visit the most important king in history, and they knew it.
I guess so.
Cool, huh?
Jeez, if they're getting the gold and all these other expensive things.
Yes. So at the end, when they had visited with Jesus, did they go back to Herod? Because Herod had asked them to come back. Did they go back?
Did he go back to Herod?
No, they did not go back to Herod, because when they were in Nazareth, God gave them a dream. And in their dream, God told them, do not go back to Herod. Go home in a different way, because Herod wants to kill this child.
Oh, no.
So they went back another way, and then Herod ended up killing the kids in Bethlehem. But Jesus went to Egypt because his parents had now enough money to travel and to take care of him. And later on, Jesus had enough money for his ministry. He never had to ask people for money because God had already provided everything he needed at his birth.
That's
So
cool.
let's talk together. How did God speak to the Magi, to the wise men? In what ways did we see today that God spoke to them?
What do you think he spoke to wise men?
Oh, through the stars.
Yeah, through the stars. Excellent. I like that. Stars. He definitely used the stars. What else did you notice? How else did they learn from God? I think we can say they also learned from Daniel's books. So like the Bible. It's a part of the Bible.
Oh, that's really cool that you can do that.
Yeah. Hey?
Are you writing that?
Yes, I am writing. I am using a tablet, so I have a special pen to write. Here's my
Wow,
pen.
look it.
So stars, Daniel's book, and I guess yeah. So I think those are the most important things. And if you look at Jesus, we see that God also spoke to Joseph. He also spoke through dreams. Oh, wait, also to the Magi, he spoke through dreams. Remember at the end, God gave them a dream to go back in a different way.
Oh.
And here also through dreams and through an angel. And so in what ways does God speak to us? How do you see God around you? How do you see that God talks to you and tells you that you're special?
Welcome.
I have no clue.
How does God talk to us?
In the stars?
Well, we can learn to listen to God in the stars, but I think most of us have not done that before.
Yeah, I have not done that before.
No. So let's look at the ways that we do know. So I think we can say in the Bible.
Yeah. You tell her, say it louder. That's a good answer. Yeah.
Sorry, I am making a mess. I'm misspelling that. I don't know. I started to write it in Dutch. So
Sullivan is saying that God speaks to him through church.
yeah, excellent. That was one of mine. Very good.
Good. Do you have one, Malcolm? How does God talk to you? What about through song? When we sing or dance?
Through an eagle.
Through what?
Through an eagle.
Through an eagle.
Eagle, yeah. Actually, for me too, because when I see an eagle, I see a bird
Wow.
that can go straight up to the sun. No one else can do that. But I'm thinking we should be able to be like an eagle to go straight up to God.
Did you hear that? What a wonderful answer. Great job, guys.
Anything else you can think of? I heard songs. I think.
Cutting your hair.
He already did.
Everyone's a witness to that. He just cut his hair.
What did he say?
He just cut his hair.
Oh no! Oh, those scissors need to do that.
Well, it's all recorded now.
And then maybe we can mention prayer.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so how else?
And there's more hair.
How else is God?
Don't do it again, Nora, guys.
You like food? Your favorite food? Do you think?
No.
Oh.
I'm gonna transform into a pizza.
No. Stop that. No more. You are
scared me to
silly.
cut myself.
No, don't. You'll be.
So how about nature? If we're out in nature, we can sometimes also really feel God's love around us, isn't it?
Welcome. You're talking about nature again. Remember your answer?
No.
So nature, like eagle is part of nature, of course, but we can also see God in other ways in nature, I think. In prayer. Maybe you can think of other ways that God talks to you, maybe through your parents when they take care of you.
Welcome.
Praying.
What did you say?
Praying.
Praying, yes. I wrote that here. Yeah, praying. Praying is very good. Especially if we also listen while we pray. Don't just talk, also listen to God. Well, in the next weeks, when you have your Christmas break, you should keep thinking about the ways that God talks to you. And you can maybe find some other ways. You may think, oh, actually, when I see all the beautiful Christmas lights, I'm reminded that Jesus was born. So then God can talk through those lights too. So, have you guys already found some pictures that you want? Oh yeah, wait, I need to tell you about collages. Sorry, I need to go to the next slide. There you go. So, you know what a collage is? Now we're going to talk about our artwork.
Oh, look.
So,
Look
a
at
collage really means something
Wow.
that contains glue. So we're going to use glue. We're going to put pictures together. So I can make a collage on my computer. That's kind of a lazy way to do it. But the first one I did here, I made a collage on my computer with just different pictures. But if you do it with real things, not just on a computer, look at this. A friend of mine made this. She just took a big bristle board and she put a bunch of pictures on there. And then she wrote on it. She wrote witness and decree and truth. She wrote all these words on it and she found pictures that she wanted to talk about. And she just glued it all on there and she used a marker. And that's a collage. So you can put all kinds of stuff together. Sometimes people use even fabric, like a nice piece of fabric that you like, or maybe there's some wrapping paper left and you like it and you want to put it on there too. So here you can see the next one. This person, she just took a whole bunch of strips of paper and they were just all cool strips of paper and she just glued them together. And then she wrote on there a big L is for, what is it? L is for.
What is L for? What does L stand for?
And look at the little hearts.
Love.
Yeah.
Yes. And this person, she was like, well, I want to make a collage about missions. So she did share and then go to the missions. So she had the different pictures about sharing and getting money so that she can give it to people who need it. And here's the person, she just had one really beautiful picture that she liked. And then she put other pictures just over it to say different things about it.
Wait, so she pretty much put pictures down and then she put a big picture over it?
Well, I think she had the big picture first and then she put the smaller pictures on top of it.
Oh,
And so what you can also see here is that when you make a collage, you can cut your pictures with scissors, but you can also, if the paper is not too thick, you can also tear it. You can just, so I'll show you some of my pictures that I have. One moment.
are you fine with that?
I had already done my angels. I told you earlier. Oh, wait, I'm going to stop sharing this so I have a bigger picture again. Good. So look, here was my angel that you see, I cut it carefully. But this picture, I wanted to have a picture of Halifax with snow. I tore it from my calendar. So I just kind of ripped it. And so when you rip paper, then you get this kind of interesting edge. So sometimes it's fun to have both kinds of things.
Talking about this.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can just, yeah.
Isn't that
And when
neat?
you make a collage, you can use lots of pictures. I usually do. But if you like to have an interesting background, if you have some nice paper that you like as background, you just put it, you glue that on first and then you glue your pictures on top. So you can do all kinds of fun things. You can also just draw with it or paint with it, all kinds of cool stuff. So we have been thinking about how God talks to us. Now let's see what kind of pictures we can find with that. And maybe as you look at pictures, you may think of new ways that God talks to you.